Really nice class of females here. The silver female that's going to lead off for me does so handily. This is a very attractive female. She's striking from the side. She catches your eye when she comes in. One is so robust in the center part of her body and still ties in really nice into that neck juncture. One that is soundest in this class on her feet and legs, and just to put together the best, and one of the combination heifers. And then the white stripe-faced heifer coming next, not one to act the best. For me, where she lands into second is her structure is quite a bit better than the cattle that are going to round out the bottom end of this class. And one that when you study, she has a long neck. It's not the freakiest down on the bottom side. I'm sure there's a shot of Simmental in this one, but I think it's still really relevant and good in the show ring setting from that shoulder blade into her cheek. Just need to give this one a little more time on feed to fill in there right behind her shoulder blades and calm down a bit in the ring to give you a more ring presence look. Then the young lady coming next, here's one that's a big, stout, featured female. She's big, wide pin. She's opened up in that loin juncture, but with that, she's starting to push up in the center part of her back when she gets going and when she's on the standstill. For me, she is a little bit freer moving than the heifer that's going to round out the class and still gives you such a nice look through that front 1/3. Young lady that's going to round out the class with the youngest heifer out here. One that's just a little bit farther behind in her overall condition. You'd like to free this one up in her hock set down to that pastern to give her a more ladylike appearance when you get her out here to go around the ring. Congratulations on 4 nice heifers. Let's give them a nice big round of applause.
Results of Class 1 of our crossbred heifers. First place went to Riley Brown, second to Briley Simpson, third Savannah Grumblatt, and fourth to Haley Wasman. Coming in next is Class 2 with 3 entries. Then we will have our division.
A quick study here for me is you put these cattle in the ring and start studying them on the motion. The young ladies, well, they're all black and white, but the one that's more of an elegant read for me, she's up-headed and ties in tight to the top of side of her neck. When you set this female into motion, she keeps the most things correctly. I'm not going to tell you she flexes the best and she's always going to be there, but one today, for me, in the condition she's in, she wins this class pretty handily. Young lady's bigger, bolder, stout, heifer with a huge cavity in the center part of her body. For me, though, maybe a little full today. She's wanting to push up in the center top of her back when you set this one into motion. You do love the angles of this one's lower part of her leg, and that front end is so pretty and elegant. I'd like to see this heifer if she was a little bit less full, trying to get around out here today, pushing that loin and top side of that rib out. Young lady's heifer that's going to round out the class. One that is certainly elegant and nice to look at. Just a little bit farther behind in her overall condition as the cattle in front of them, and like to stouten her up in her overall bone work and skeletal width. Congratulations on all these exhibitors.
Results of Class 2 of crossbred heifers. First place went to entry 5078 of Kylie Mitchell, second to entry 5182 of Lana Miles, and third to entry 5485 of Grayson Holleran. We will now have our first division champion.
our two champion or class winners in this division get back out here, and I analyze them against each other. There's one out here for me that just ties and blends so much smoother in her overall design and build and gives you that maternal look. And then when we get down to talking about reserve, we're going with cattle that are following up with their functionality and the overall doability. You like the structure in these females. With that being said, I'm going to use the young lady's gray heifer to win. The black and white will be reserved. Congratulations to the exhibitors.
The champion of Division 1 went to entry 4734 of Riley Brown, and our reserve Division 1 champion went to entry 5078 of KILE Mitchell. Coming in the class next is class number 3 of Crossbred heifers with 3 entries.
A very intriguing class of trio of females as you get them out here and start studying them. The female that's going to lead off, this one, when you study this one at the ground, she is the squarest. When you put her in the motion, she keeps her skeleton correct in that motion. Good center part of her body. You love the way that she ties in high and tight out of the top side of her neck. She's opened up and got some power when you study her down her top line, and this pin set is so wide, and she keeps that width when she goes away from you. Young lady's heifer coming second. I like a lot of parts and pieces about this one. Like to tighten her up, clean her up through that front 1/3. And honestly, for me, I would like to keep this one a little bit truer and square in her skeleton at the ground. She wants to kind of roll them back feet out when you study this one in motion, but one that certainly gives you a striking look and elegant presence from the side from that shoulder back. Young lady's heifer that's going to round out this class, one that ties in more like our heifer that wins this class. For me, though, gets a little more restricted in her movement and a little bit tighter and higher in that lower belly, and gives her more of a market heifer look through the center part of her body. Congratulations to these exhibitors. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
The results of Class 3 of our crossbred heifers. First place went to entry 5004 of Ella Piantrin. second to entry 5608 of Jordan Oler, and third to entry 3253 of Emily Fritz. Next in the ring will be Class 4 with 4 entries.
nice set of heifers out here. The black heifer that's going to lead off for me does so just in a more maternal package. One that when you set her into motion, you like the flex to this one's hock and the way that it sets down to the ground. One that ties in so nice in that front 1/3. Love the center part of this one's body, so robust and maternal looking and has that rib shape and design that you like to see in a female. Now, if this is a true market crossbred show, this heifer here is tying on for me just as quick as any. Love the extension of this one's front end. For me, she's rocked forward in that knee set ever so slightly, and like to give her, in a breeding setting, we like to give this one more of a maternal lower swoop to that lower body. But I love the thickness of this one's leg, and when it does reach out and go, it has a nice flex. For me, I just like to give her a softer, more pattern when you stud her out here against the black heifer. And then we get to a duo of heifers where the wheels kind of fall off a little bit. You like to fix the structure on both of these females. But the heifer that I'm going to lean on just is more of a cleaner package all the way through. She blends smoother. Her pieces aren't as wild looking. And one that's just got a nice look to her. The heifer that's going to round out the class, I like to just take this one and trim those toes back a little bit. Maybe those are off balance when she's starting to move and push that tail head into her ever so slightly. Really nice class of females.
Results of Class 4 of Crossbred heifers. First place went to entry 2515 of Parker London. Second to entry 2386 of Cheyenne Bolliard. Third, 2539 Ellen Walmer. And fourth to 552 Hunter Brocious. Now we will be selecting our champion and reserve of Division 2.
Really good start right here in this division. With these cattle are just built so well. I love the calf. She's really gives you some nice, intriguing pieces. She blends together smoothly for one that's this age. And I'm not going to tell you she's over-conditioned. She's in the right condition at this stage for a heifer that's of this size and magnitude. One that when you study her from her hock down to the ground, she has that nice swoop to her leg. And when you study that front knee set, push back into her and gives her a nice look. It keeps that front end tied together nice and tight. Heifer that wins a second class, one that just, for me, wins that class on overall maternal look and design when you set her against the cream color heifer that was second to her. One that you like her when she gets part. For me, when you get her back out here and start watching her and studying her, she's wanting to kind of hit the ground a little bit harder than I like to see it when you put those back two into motion. One you'd like to square her up when you get her out here and compare her to the cab in front of her, out through that tail head, square up those pins. But two really high-quality females here in this division. Congratulations to you exhibitors. Let's give them a round of applause, and I'll get you your grand and reserve.
Results of our Division 2 champion. Our champion went to entry 5004 of Ella Piantron, and our reserve went to entry 2515 of Parker London. Now in the ring is a Class 5 of crossbred heifers with 2 entries. And then we have 2 entries in the following class.
Just 2 females here in the next class, but the heifer that's going to lead off does so handily for me. One, it is just so powerful and huge skeletal structure all the way through from those shoulders back, and it's in a good package. She's smooth. She blends in from that forerib into the back side of that shoulder and ties in nice and high in the top side of her neck. You like the angles of this female. I'm not going to sit here and say she has just the correct set right in that hot, but when you set her into motion, she does it with free and ease. She has a more, if I was breeding a bunch of crossbred steers, this one would be in my pasture every day. You're going to make money with this cow doing that. So, and I think you could go a maternal route with this one and soften her up with that structure right there, but one that's really, really high quality. The black female that's going to be second. Here's one that gets a little more restricted off of both ends when you start studying her. She doesn't have quite that reach to hit that stride, but one that's very intriguing from there up. She's wide in her pin set. She's opened up in that rib cage up high. And one you just like to lengthen out through a front 1/3. Really a nice set of heifers here. Let's give them a round of applause.
Results of Class 5. First place went to entry 4947, Kayla Lippert, and second to entry 3644 of Lauren Snyder. Coming in the ring now is our last class of crossbred heifers with 2 entries. Following that will be our Division 3 champion, and then we'll pick our champion crossbred heifer.
A heifer that comes on and leads off this class does so quite handily for me. One, it is so big constructed from the ground up. You love the bone work and size of this female. I would, personally, I'd moderate her ever so slightly for my cow herd, but one that just combines so many good parts and pieces. For a heifer this big, you still have that lower rib shape and opened up capacity into that flank. One that's square out of her tail head and her hip. One, when you study her at the ground, for a heifer so long, she hits that close to that stride as she can, reaching out there. And you love the way this one ties in from that chest floor up to her jawline. A really intriguing female to lead off. Young lady's heifer that comes second. Here's one that just doesn't have all the next level wow factors as a heifer that leads off this class. Like to just give this one a more elegant, refined look and clean her up through that front 1/3. But certainly 2 real nice females. Congratulations to these exhibitors.
Results of Class 6 of our crossbred heifers. First place went to entry 56 OT, Blair Heath, and second to entry 1596 of Kayla Vigors. Now we will have our champion of Division 3. Following that, our champion crossbred heifers.
really nice set of females here in our next division. And I will say that to start off, these are two totally different types and kinds of cattle. You have the one up front here that gives you more of that big, stout, robust look, open up in that rib cage, good to their foot and bone. One for me, like I said earlier, if I was taking and breeding crossbreds, I'd have this one every day of the week, just the way that this one ties together and blends so smoothly together. And then the black heifer that comes in the class next to her, a big framed heifer one, but just still balances up so well from that shoulder blade into that forerib. And for the size of this one, the swoop, the lower part of her body is put in her nice and low, ties in high and tight out of her neck, big, rugged, stouted, featured female when you study her at the ground, and probably a little truer and squarer when you study her at the ground compared to the female that's in front of her. But I think this is a very close placing between two high-quality females. Let's give them a round of applause, and I'll get you your grand and reserve.
I'm a cattle person. Listen, I'm picking everything you pick in, and I'm already right.
Results of our champion, Division 3. Our champion went to entry 5602 of Blair Heath, and our reserve to entry 4947 of KILE Lippert. Now we will be selecting our overall champion crossbred heifer.
We wrap up our Crossbred Heifer show here today. I think it's been a great opportunity for me to be able to come down here and sort through these cattle all the way, starting with those Charolais to these crossbreds today. And I think the quality has stayed true all day. I think all the way through these shows, the people have done good at keeping functional cattle, maternal built, and really good at the ground. When you get these cattle back out here and start looking at them next to each other and out of these divisions, and then you bring your reserves in, I think this has been a very solid show all the way through. I think there's a pair of them out here that match up, and then for grand and reserve, and their overall just design and build, and I can see the functionality in them moving forward and going to another show or so. But with that said, I'll go out now and I'll get you your grand and reserve. Let's give them a nice big round of applause.
Congratulations to our champion crossbred heifer, went to entry 5602 of Blair Heath, and our reserve went to entry 5004 of Ella Piantron. That concludes our show here in the equine arena. We will have the Supreme at 1 o'clock in the large arena. And if we had any champions, please get your bios, those pink papers, into the